Hi, you're watching EAC Insight. I'm your host, Anthony Ellis. Thanks for joining us. In this show, we'll be talking to three gentlemen who are very experienced in the field of real estate here in Cambodia. Our first guest is Mr. Tom O'Sullivan, CEO of realestate.com.kh. Mr. Tom O'Sullivan's professional career has been centred around startups, including social enterprises, tech, hospitality and marketing. Since 2015, Tom has built realestate.com.kh to become #1 real estate agent platform in Cambodia. This includes an ecosystem of services, including websites and apps, physical expos and online expos, thousands of expert guides and videos to educate local Khmer and international buyers on the real estate market in Cambodia. Welcome, Mr. Tom, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Our second guest is Mr. Edward Lee. Mr. Edward Lee is the CEO and spearheading the Prince Real Estate Group. His expertise have honoured over 2 decades of outstanding performances in real estate management sphere, comprising a diverse range of projects spanning residential, commercial and industrial domains. Dedicated to delivering cutting-edge and transformative real estate solutions, Mr. Lee has demonstrated his exceptional ability to oversee projects, concept developments across Vietnam, Cambodia, Malaysia and San Francisco. Mr. Lee from Singapore has served his nation with distinction in the Republic Singapore Air Force. His diverse experiences and exceptional skills set out to position him as a prominent leader to the real estate industry. Welcome, Mr. Edward, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Our third guest is Mr. SORN. Mr. SORN is currently the president of the Cambodian Values and Estate Agents Association, chairman of the KH25 Property, chairman of the Asian Pacific Property Appraisal, and is also the chairperson of the judging panel of the Property Guru Cambodia Property Awards. He contributes his experiences and profound local real estate knowledge cultivated through his former works and renowned local and international real estate companies, including Lee Real Estate, Bonner Realty Group, Knight Frank in Malaysia and Cambodia, Key Real Estate, KH25 Property and Asian Pacific Property Appraisals. Versed in aspects of real estate, his experiences have included intense in-class training on property valuation in Malaysia, including fieldwork and supervisory and management levels. Mr. SORN, thank you very much and welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Once again, gentlemen, thank you very much for appearing on our show today. Just before we start off the first question, Tom, congratulations for last week on your awards.
Thank you very much.
And it was a great night, I hear.
Yeah, over 500 people, so very successful evening, yeah.
And of course, congratulations, also won a special award, Mr. Personality.
Thank you so much.
And also, Prince won a few other awards?
Yes, Prince Real Estate has won a few other awards as well. I think the awards itself is one, but most importantly is the real estate market in Cambodia has been progressing, has been growing, right? So we have won some awards thanks to the judges, but I think all the real estate players, the projects who have submitted for the award are all winners in a form or another.
That's it. And yourself, you had a great night on there?
Yeah, of course. I present in the award night, and it was fantastic. So many people joining the event.
Excellent. Once again, congratulations. That's great. So let's start off with the first question. So let's compare the Cambodian growth in real estate compared to some of the countries in Southeast Asia. Of course, mainly maybe look at, compared to Vietnam, Thailand, in the last 5 to 10 years.
Okay. I think because I've involved in real estate both in Vietnam, Malaysia, US, Cambodia for the last 5 to 10 years. Cambodian real estate is very unique. It's a bit different from Vietnam or Malaysia in the sense, because Cambodia real estate is open to more international buyers. Let's talk about Vietnam. Vietnam is a very domestic-driven market with more than 90 million population. A lot of the real estate properties are design built and target to sell to local Vietnamese. So it's very locally driven. In fact, there's a cap on foreign ownerships. Per district, you're only allowed to sell to about 30%. Foreigners for the total district population. Malaysia has been very stable for real estate for the last decade, but the yield performance is maybe in comparison to its neighbors is not so attractive. Cambodia itself is more unique in the sense you have local buyer needs. We have a lot of young Cambodians growing and have demand for their first home or for their upgrading homes. But the population itself, some people think that it's only 16 million Cambodians. It's small compared to its neighbors. But effectively, because Cambodia has a very open investment law, foreign ownership program are very straightforward. As a foreigner to buy an apartment, you just sign an SPA, you own the title direct. Its target market is actually the whole Asia. That's the way we look at it. So we have been saying, and in fact, when we have this chat with real estate experts and professionals in Middle East, when we go overseas for roadshows, they look at Cambodia having a target market of 20 million. Right. So with that, Cambodia real estate growth is different. It is not just looking at serving Cambodians, but also people, businesses who are looking at doing business in Cambodia or buying a real estate for investment. One big difference is that it has better yield performance in terms of rental as investment real estate. Being a dollarized economy, your real estate investment is protected against foreign exchange losses. So, for example, last 2 years, Vietnamese dong have depreciated, Malaysia dong have faced certain challenges with what is happening globally. So a lot of my friends who have invested apartments to lease in Vietnam, although they used to enjoy a yield of 5%, but with the foreign exchange loss or the weakening of the Vietnamese dong, is as good as we don't see a yield. But in Cambodia, the yield are still there because it's rented in US dollars, you invest in US dollars, you take out your money in US dollars. So that's the first difference in terms of Cambodia real estate market as an investment. Demand-wise, there's always a lot of supply in the market, but supply is always way ahead of demand. They are at least 3 years ahead of demand, right? But I think past COVID, the demand of real estate in Cambodia will definitely be increasing. We have a few projects like Prince Happiness Plaza along Monivong. Last year, we are looking at selling about 200 over units. We are already one of the better performers, so-called, in the market. But this year, first quarter, we have close 600 units.
Wow.
So you can see a significant increase in interest. We have buyers from Japan that's coming, from Singapore that's coming. They are taking like the whole floor, they're taking 50, 60 units as a loose retail investment group, right? So they take up, we do see there's a positive uptake, but we don't think it will be like pre-COVID, where the market is booming, because that time the market macro and micro is a bit different. But post-COVID, we believe it will be a bit more stable growth, which is better for the market, for the industry. It's a more gradual increase. Demand will get stronger because with more businesses coming back, we now do see coaches at the airports picking up guests by coaches, which we don't see for the last 2 years. So these are all very positive signs. I go to Siam Novia to look at our projects there every week. And we do see a lot of projects that were stopped during COVID starts to reactivate, starts to re-prepare for construction to resume. So these are all positive signs that we think the Cambodian market, which is more resilient, because you are open to basically anybody who are interested to invest, put their money in the country. So this will help the Cambodia real estate market to grow a little bit, I would say, more positively than its neighbors for now. The neighbors will catch up with internal issues or macroeconomy starts to get stronger, right? But I believe that in the next 5 years to 10 years, Cambodia real estate market you will be a new kid on the block, as we said, for Southeast Asia, and it will continue to get more investors' attention. You'll be more on more investors' radar, especially when they start to understand the ease of foreign investment, foreign ownership for this real estate. So this real estate market is basically driven by buyers from all over the places instead of just very locally based.
You did mention also about the Vietnam dong it's dropped, and of course it's also in Malaysia. Yes, Cambodia does deal in the US and also in real.
Yes.
I think in the future, Cambodia will be looking to head towards the real, getting rid of the US dollar. Will that affect real estate then? Because you said now that the dong has dropped compared to the dollar, so that's affected. So you think it will affect Cambodia?
Currency, when you start to trade in local dollars, definitely there will be some impact on businesses or on investment, right? But how would the impact be 5 years from now, assuming that happens? Really depends on 5 years from now, how the real performs, how the overall economy performs, right? But if you look at it, generally speaking, the demand and supply, Cambodia are not restricted by a local-based demand, right? It's still a foreign expat base or foreign business base, just very similar to Dubai. right? So Dubai, they use dirhams as well, right? Is it badly affected? Is it very affected? Yes and no. As long as the business climates remain healthy, as long as new businesses start coming in, and the GDP continue to grow, I believe it will still be okay.
Yeah. And the GDP seems to be growing here. It seemed to have continued on even pre-COVID. And I think the job the Prime Minister has done has certainly moving forward to bounce back so quickly as it has.
Yeah.
So where are the biggest areas as in fast growth and slow growth in Phnom Penh itself at the moment, and why are they the fastest growing and the slowest growing?
Well, in Phnom Penh, we have history to grow until today. If looking at 10 years back, Phnom Penh is very small, only 5 districts in the city, where we have Seven Makara, Don Peng, Chomkamon, Tu Kok, and there's one more. What is that? Don Peng. Yeah. So among 5 of this district is the developed city since the previous regime. Then later, the government, the Phnom Penh municipality, expand the city into 12 and then 14. The fast growth of the city is actually in the city center, the 5 districts. And among the 5 districts, there's one area that is a very high development area, is Chomkamon. We are located in the Lebasa area. And
so it's also known as BKK1 area?
Yeah, BKK1 area. Yeah, BKK1 used to be a prime residential area, but now it's converting into a mixed-use area, and a lot of infrastructure has been replaced from the last 4 or 5 years. Yeah, because need to transform from one family bungalow into like multiple families building an office. Yeah, so we faced challenge during 2007 and 2008, but until today it's okay. During that day, a lot of dust everywhere, and also electricity cut, short of water supply. Yeah, but now everything is in place now. Yeah, so the place where it is very low is still the suburb of the city. Yeah, among the suburb, I can say roughly Dong Cao, Prejpner, and Kobol commune. No, sorry, not commune, it's district. Yeah, we are low density. But of course, if talking about the growth rate of the land appreciation is higher. Okay. Yeah, the highest is now in Dong Cao. But of course, if we compare city before 2015, it's all like developed to the west because of the location of the airport and also the road, the only road to link to Sihanoukville, National Road number 4. So there's a development along here and also industrial, along National Road number 4. And from 2005 to 2018, it started to move to north and northwest, where the EON 2 located. Yeah, and when EON 2 started to develop during 2015, a lot of local development, big development like Pinewood or New World, they're also moving there. Yeah, and Chipmong. And from 2018 until today, is moving to the south, where a lot of infrastructure now see coming up, and also there's a EON 3 moving there too. So there's one more location that the government and the investor looking for is Araisat. Is the place where opposite to current Phnom Penh city, opposite to the Royal Palace. Actually, when we study about the history, Phnom Penh is the 4 interjunction river city where we already won the 4 interjunction city awards. But currently we have only 3 interjunction. We need 1 more. We need 2 more actually. 1 more is the upstream and downstream. We need to build the bridge across the river in order to connect into the other area. Actually, the plan already have, and the budget already put in. But of course, just a matter of waiting for the piling of the bridge. Then everything will be connected. Yeah.
I think you mentioned Arikasat. One of my questions does mention that because I do have a few things over there, know a few people, and notice it is growing. I've spoken to a couple of other agents who are going to invest there, mention a whole new neighbourhood, new hospitals, education and everything else. And of course, they're waiting for the new bridge. But Arikasat is not part of Phnom Penh. It's a different district. The Phnom Penh kind of finishes halfway through the river. Do you think Phnom Penh will reach over there and become part of the city of, I think it's Kandal now? It's part of Kandal?
Well, actually, Arikasat is now, even though it is not yet developed, but it's already designated to be a city called Arikasat under Kandal province. And I believe when, the bridge built, all that area is going to be developed. And of course, I think it's going to be part of Phnom Penh. Not only Arikasat, I think all others communes too, like Louis Am and Saikandal. So these 2 of communes actually, it's a district. These 2 districts are actually just right opposite to Phnom Penh. And there's a story about our province called Kampong Cham, when before the bridge built over the Mekong River, the city is very small. But when it just built the bridge, the other place developed and start to be part of the city. So I believe that Arikasat is going to follow this footprint.
And the bridge, we've seen the design. We know it's going to go over Old Market, head into near the soccer, then of course go over again. There's no date on the start date?
There's no exact date, but there's people talk from mouth to mouth. Hearsay is around mid of this year. We'll start piling.
Thank you very much. So what about investment? Who are the main investors in Cambodia? A lot of times when we talk real estate, we always mention Phnom Penh. We forget about Setnaville, we forget about Siem Reap, even Battambang, Kampong Cham, and everything else. A lot of people here, when they do their talks, it's focused on Phnom Penh. Cambodia is more than Phnom Penh. So who are the investors coming and where are they going to invest? And, what are they mainly investing in? Are they condos, residentials?
So in terms of where they're investing, the key main locations are Phnom Penh, obviously, Sihanoukville, which I think we'll talk more about later, and Siem Reap. There are some very successful projects that have been delivered and either handed over or handing over soon in Siem Reap. But developers are limited in Siem Reap in that you can't build above the height of Angkor Wat. So it's less attractive, I guess, to property developers because you're sort of hampered by that. They can't get the right return on their investment in terms of the land. But at the same time, I think that's a good thing because it keeps Siem Reap. It's uniqueness for Cambodia. So then most of the international investment around properties, so retail investors are focused on Phnom Penh at the moment. And typically they're buying condominiums because the ownership laws around buying a condominium or anything off the ground floor is much easier with a condo. with the development of the recent trust laws, international investors are starting to look at sort of land or landed properties. And the local demand is generally lied in local landed gated communities called bores. But similar to international investors starting to look at land or landed properties, I think we saw over the last few years that the young Cambodians are definitely increasing in terms of interest of condominiums. Then in terms of which countries, so historically Koreans and Chinese and Japanese. I think Chinese would still be sort of number one at the moment. But funnily enough, and surprise to many, we actually see a lot of buyers out of the US, Europe. Singapore's picked back up again. Malaysians, in terms of, again, retail investors. I think in commercial space, certainly Chinese, Japanese. But there's also increasing interest from countries like India, Indonesia, and also we're forecasting Middle East as well. I probably don't want to say it publicly, but we know there's certain embassies opening in Cambodia, which will indicate that sort of more countries are interested in entering the market here.
Yeah, I did recently read about investment with India. They seem to do looking at it a lot more. And there's a couple of embassies opening up soon. Usually when they come in, it's usually because they want to invest in the country and things like that. So when they invest, what is the main investments? Now we look at Bavet, which is mainly, of course, factories. So that's known as, and also Sitnaville, we have a lot of factories as well, but we look at casinos there. Siem Reap, like you said, there's nothing yet. But the new airport, which is about 50 kilometres away from Siem Reap, which is going to be, I think, phenomenal from what I hear. I mean, I've heard a lot of investments from Macau have actually bought a lot of land there. Usually when they come from Macau, it's going to be big. It's not going to be small.
Yeah, I mean, for me, to be honest, like I'd be doing a bit of crystal ball work around the future of Siem Reap in that sense. I understand the aspirations. I think that if they can execute it well, it's obviously going to be fantastic. But I think it's very early for me to sort of speculate on how that might work. Of course, developers will be able to build above the height of Angkor Wat, so potentially and hopefully you have the best of both worlds. If that makes sense. But I will say that the developers in Siem Reap that have executed properties have done very well. And other investment around hospitality and tourism in Siem Reap as well.
I think for me, just to add on, I think Siem Reap is a bit more unique because of the UNESCO site and Angkor Wat.
The temples,
But it does has a very strong reason, tourism attraction as an anchor. The spurs of real estate development, or more we call tourism real estate, it really depends on how the land price goes in the next 3 years, 5 years for Siem Reap region, right? Is it priced to build residential for people in the tourism industry in Siem Reap, or is it meant to be more resource-based investment in Siem Reap, right? So with the limitation of height, it all worked back to feasibility. Right. The last pre-COVID, we have seen that land around Cambodia, especially big cities, have just been growing, increasing. Some are sustainable, some are speculative, right? So for Siem Reap land, because for us, we also own a few hundred hectares in Siem Reap. We are developing and progressing the land development very slowly. Mainly, it's like what Tom have said, the feasibility just, at this point, at this market situation, it is not so attractive as if we have put our resources to start projects in Sihanoukville or in other cities in Phnom Penh and surrounding, right? So, but this is what every country will go through. I've been doing projects in Vietnam for 15 years. We have seen first-tier city, second-tier city provinces, each starts catching up. But we also have seen the further outskirts land prices has been increasing a lot, just because surrounding has been increasing because more investors are coming, and so they are transacted at quite good price. But what I think we will see in the next few years is that when the tourism pickups, the ADR, the room rates for operations for resorts recovers or gets to a new level, and then the feasibility for new tourism real estate makes sense, then you will see more projects starting. More of that sense.
Well, we're just seeing the new aquarium and wildlife open up, which is spectacular. We did, well, I've visited, and it's what they did out there is amazing for Cambodia with the underwater tanks and everything else. So Cambodia is having a lot of new infrastructure happening with new expressways, airports, railways, projects, some completed, still more to come. Will this boost other areas like in Cambodia, like Siem Reap, Sitnaville, Battambang, and things like that?
Well, I think it's the effort that the government trying to invest during the difficult time, COVID. So like Siem Reap, COVID time, there's no tourists come to visit. Just only local tourists visit, but not many. Of course, the government took this quiet time as an advantage to restore all of the 38 roads and build the new link to the airport, and also build the airport that is going to be ready for operation by this year. And not only Siem Reap, but also Sihanouk, where we see 34 roads have been restored. The expressway, which is already ready for operation. The expansion of the airport, and also the expansion of the deep sea port, the only deep sea port in Cambodia, transport goods in and out from Cambodia and to Cambodia. And if you look at the Sihanouk now, even though there's some issues, the building hang over, then of course, the government not just waits to see the winning card, but of course using the way to improve and also to attract, to build confidence. That's why even though there's some issue, but the land not cheap, it's keep appreciate in the price. That's why I see. That's why like Prince Group started a big project in Sihanouk. And in the city, in Phnom Penh, we see ring road number 2, ring road number 3, and also the airport and other roads link from the city to the province, like National Road number 4, National Road number 3, and National Road number 2. All now in a very good condition, so that we travel very fast. Of course, infrastructure will help to, especially the product chain, and it increase the time, cut the time, and also link to increase productivity, and can help our economy. That's why I look at the economy. This year predicted to be 5.3. This considered as strong after just the hard time like COVID time. That's right, So I think that infrastructure is playing very important role in our economy, and of course also in property market of Cambodia.
If I may add on, totally agree on that, because like we have this 954 hectares project in Sihanouk. Previously, if we go there for meetings, we have to make it a 2-day, 1-night trip. But right now, I can leave at 8 and I'm back for dinner appointment. It's so much more efficient, right? I mean, thanks to the government, I think that expressway will help to not only boost Sihanouk's further growth, but also helps Phnom Penh people here to have another weekend getaway, to have more business opportunity, because the cost of business is so much greatly reduced, right? By having this accessibility. And by having access to the coastline of Cambodia, south of Cambodia, I think will also helps, like what was mentioned, the ports, in terms of business logistics. The cost of all this will reduce, thereby helping the cost of living, or even the cost of products, cost in supermarkets to further reduce, make it a much more better for everybody, and helps to spur the economic growth in a general sense.
I mean, just in addition to what Seb was saying about the buildings, The government's recently announced a special operation called Operation UB, which stands for Operation Unfinished Buildings.
Yep.
They've already identified all the buildings above 5 floors and above. They're already investigating each case one by one and understanding the ownership and where is each site at, and plan to provide favourable terms to local or international investors to take over such projects. So that could be tax breaks or whatever it is. But I think over time we will see that plan sort of solve that side of things. But in a weird way, and some people might think it's a strange comment, but the coastline of Cambodia is somewhat underdeveloped. Like there's no sort of holiday pool villas or anything that you would expect to see.
Okay, and we talk when we talk about, of course, the travelling time now. Sentinel, you say you can go there and come back, and that's got to be good for tourism as well, because, like you said, it's the days back at home in Australia. It was going to the beach. It was a family day for a couple of hours and whatnot. So it's opened up to the Cambodians now to go and see the beach and everything else.
In fact, we are starting the development of a first coastal golf course. So people from Phnom Penh can go there and play golf, just a 2 hours drive. You're going to have some beach villas, beach clubs and all those. So it helps the overall landscape to change a bit and elevate to a different level. And
then, like you say, for the production of the ships coming in and to bring things lower. And then you've got the freeway or the going to Bavet. And of course, Bavet's known also for a lot of industrial business there, which will then bring prices down. And the future one they're looking at is from here to Siem Reap too, which will encourage tourism. I mean, my first time to Siem Reap was 23 years ago, and it was a 12-hour horrible nightmare trip. And thinking, why am I doing this trip? Coming from a Western country, never experienced something like this before. It was crazy. Now we do it in 6 hours in the bus. This expressway, it'll be fabulous. It'll be fantastic. And I have family and friends there. I can go there more often and do things.
Right. And some more. The government also plan to build now start to study the expressway link from Phnom Penh to Siem Reap. So if the current time take about 6 hours to travel from Phnom Penh to Siem Reap or Siem Reap to Phnom Penh, it will cut half. Maybe it's just 2 hours and a half and 3 hours. It's just like the expressways from Phnom Penh to Siem Reap. Before, when I traveled, it was very terrible. Need to travel. It take like 6-7 hours because a lot of car, a lot of trucks. We cannot drive fast. Drive fast also, not safe. So from 6-7 hours cut to like 2 hours generally. If you drive like at maximum speed that they permit, it's just like 1 hour 45 minutes. From the start point to the end point of the expressway.
Then once again, it's opening up the experience for the Cambodians to actually see Angkor Wat, who've never seen it before because of the distance.
Right.
A 2 hour drive, it's a picnic, what we say, a picnic day.
It's funny you say that. I definitely think expressways like Phnom Penh to Sihanoukville has increased local tourism like remarkably, as an example. So we bring into our next question, the return of growth of tourism in Cambodia, of course, since COVID-19. Will this help the real estate industry in Cambodia? Yeah, of course. Tourism's key to driving, it's one of the pillars of the Cambodian sort of economy. And naturally, it sort of helps drive real estate and real estate investment. I think we need to, like the public and private sector need to work together to continue to promote Cambodia as a whole and encourage more tourists to the country. For example, we had a delegate here from Australia recently, sort of 10 to 12 of some of the biggest businesses from Australia here. And once you get someone to the country, they their reaction is that like it's absolutely remarkable.
Yeah.
And they're always taken aback on how developed and progressed the country actually is.
Yeah.
So yes, tourism has a huge positive effect on the real estate industry, but of course the economy as a whole. Yeah. So we've already seen sort of the return of tourism impacting positively on the real estate market, and we want to encourage more tourism.
I think people outside Cambodia have that mindset. It's still a third world country. It's a dangerous country. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. It went through a bad genocide, unfortunately, and then, of course, attempted coup. I think the Prime Minister Hun Sen has done a lot in the last 30-odd years as Prime Minister to come from a country so low into such a growth in a country that people don't understand it. And when they get here, it's just like, wow, is this what we know what Cambodia is like? I'm a 23, 24 years I've been coming here. I've seen the big changes. And going home, people say, well, you're crazy. So when you don't know until you get here. And when they do get here, it's like, we understand why you live here now. We understand why you do this. It's not only is it because the Khmer people are friendly in general, but I mean, it's such a beautiful country. You drive a couple of k's this way, you've got countryside. Now the Sydneyville's so close. You've got the nice beaches and what?
Yeah, and presents a lot of good business opportunities as well, right? So it's outperformed Thailand in terms of growth for the last 7-8 years. So and has continued to do so through COVID.
Exactly. Also, there's 4 major malls at the moment that we know. The 3 Aeons. Now we have the new Chitmong also, and a lot of smaller ones. Also, a lot of which are major. Chitmong just seem to build little malls. But they say the occupancy rate is about 70%. So it's, I suppose it's low for amount of malls, and I think that the growth of the amount of malls there is here is it needed to be that many malls. We have a lot of international companies now coming here. I mean, I know with Prince just launched their new mall near the airport now. Also with a fantastic opportunity for someone to go in there and rent for 12 months free sort of package. But compared to 2019, the growth I found it hasn't gone as big as it did now, as it did then. But we still have a lot of these things opening, a lot more cinemas, and even every major mall, the bigger ones, have these name brands,
Well, I think what the retail or shopping mall market in Cambodia is facing is very similar to what we see in Vietnam for the last 7-8 years, or even in Malaysia before, where you have a few big malls, but all the shops inside are the same. There's no difference. It boils down to 2 parts. Recently, at our Prince International Plaza on the way to airport, we started this 12-month free rent program. But it's together with the Cambodia Youth Entrepreneur Association to promote young Cambodians to get engaged into retail business, be it on a push cart or in a small shop front, right? The main reason is, if you look at today, some of the big malls by big branded developers, a lot of the shops are actually franchise owned by developers who are not expert or specialists in operating retail business, right? But it's just more of buying the franchise to fill out the malls. There's nothing specifically right or wrong on that, but that does not help the retail business to grow. For malls to succeed, you need to have a reason for people to go there on the weekends, for local people or people in country who are going there to either for essential needs, for spending time when they're free, or for a specific purpose needs. We have seen regionally a lot of successful malls are, example, focus on bridal, focus on electronics, or focus on wholesale products. Cambodia retail business, in my opinion, is still undergoing through a very initial infant stage, which is good. You have a lot of room to grow, right? The number of malls doesn't actually matter. Why? If you look at Malaysia, every single apartment projects need to have a mall. So if you're in the district, there's 20 apartment buildings, there's 20 malls, no matter how big. In Vietnam, the requirement requires you to set aside 20% of a GFA for commercial, right, to have malls, because theoretically you will have to provide more convenience for residents, right? People don't have to travel that far to go to somewhere, to a mall to buy supermarkets and all those. So this will be a change and an evolution that I will see in the next few years in Cambodia real estate market, in terms of retail market as per se. Right now, for us in Prince, we are actively going overseas to talk to more retailers who have not been to Cambodia yet, to try to bring their brands, their products, their services to Cambodia. Right, so this will be an ongoing effort. I think together with Tom and realestate.com and with the associations, we need to promote this retail market of Cambodia a lot more. Right now, the malls average occupancy, even for us, right now we have 3 operating malls. Our occupancy hovers around 70%. And then we have 3 more new malls coming up next year.
Oh, wow.
Right, so instead of just looking at current retailers in Cambodia, right now we are sending our commercial teams to Malaysia, to Japan, to Singapore to start talking to retailers, retail association there, to attract them to come here and do a trade mission study, and hopefully they will together bring their businesses here. Because Cambodia is still a good market in terms of being able to do business in US dollars, in terms of a strong expat base that usually give you a better margin in terms of products sold or services offered.
Like you say, anymore, you can go to anyone, you can find the same thing. Now we've had, of course, H&M have just arrived, Zara opening up soon in Chitmong. So we need to bring something to come. Why do I need to come to your mall? Why do I need to do this? But also we need to start bringing the local people who can afford a lot of these things. I mean, not many people can go to Tommy Hilfiger and what's Guess and those sort of stuff, which every mall's got.
We need to have more purpose.
That's correct.
In fact, for the Prince International Plaza, we are now upgrading it to an entertainment mall.
Yeah.
So we are now talking to partners in Singapore to do indoor go-kart.
Yep.
We are doing a new form of bowling alley. We are bringing the biggest children indoor playground, like Kismania, this kind, into the malls to make it more team-based.
You see that because, I mean, it's growing. But why don't we have a major mall in Sentinelville, Siem Reap, Battambang? Is it the demand's not there?
Well, I think there actually is 2 malls in Sentinelville. One is more of your I guess micro mall, more focused on F&B with some retail shops, and then Prince Wanyi, which they've delivered I think a 3 or 4 story mall, which we've got a lot of the international and local brands moving into. It's quite a nice project. They've already started handing over units, I believe.
Yes, for the apartments.
And it's a true lifestyle development. So there is, and I think over time there'll be a much, much bigger market in Sentinelville for malls and a lot of lifestyle sort of development. I think across the country and what's catching up, given, from what I know from other developers for what they're launching is a lot of these sort of lifestyle and tourist attractions across Siem Reap, Phnom Penh and Sentinelville will make tourists stay for longer and add more value to the investors that buy the properties.
As we know in hotspots for tourism, I mean, Thailand's famous to keep their tourism there. In Australia, we have Brisbane, Gold Coast, you get them there and you don't want them to leave sort of thing. And that's what the tourism is, to keep them there as long as you can. And in Siem Reap, before I moved to Phnom Penh, I did have a boutique hotel and a backpackers, and my job was to keep them there, not to leave. To keep booking and staying, and that built up economy. And I think we need to look at other venues. So let's have a look at the residential heading in the same direction. 2019 apartments, there was 32 projects, about 20,000 units. Housing was 92 projects, which had about 30,400 plus units. 2022, there's only 3 projects with 1,500 units, 54 housing projects with about just under 7,000 units. It's, we had something really big to not much happening now. What do you think that could be?
I think talking before the show, right? Like part of the question was about the whole real estate bubble sort of thing. To be honest, like, I don't know whether you call this the bubble bursting or not, but there was certainly, as a result of COVID, a huge market correction in terms of pricing. And I think, to be honest, like a lot of properties pre-COVID were, I guess, being sold for probably too much, to be honest. And now I think across the board, the prices of properties come back down to a realistic level for landed property and condominiums, and certainly reflective of the area, the price the developer pays for the land, and the quality of that construction. But whilst Cambodia and growth markets like this are going to be less affected by what's happening in the global economy, it still doesn't mean that we're not without our short-term pressures, I guess. Like, there's not exactly a lot of liquidity in the market, but, you know, a lot of people are asset rich. With the return of tourism, that's going to obviously increase more money in the market. So then we would expect, liquidity to improve for lower, middle and affluent Cambodians. So I think there's still a need for more housing in Cambodia. I just think, maybe now and certainly before with the pricing, it was really out of reach for a lot of the middle class, which is the large majority of the housing needed in Cambodia. And in terms of apartments, well, I mean, I also think pre-COVID, I think there was a lot of properties that were built that were sold for too high a price and weren't going to ever deliver on the quality, to be honest. But I see some silver lining in this. I think a lot of the projects that was those sort of projects pre-COVID, where the buyers probably do expect a return of, 5 to 8%, might not get this, but I think this fills the need for apartments to rent for Cambodian sort of students and the young Cambodians moving from the province that need apartments for $200 to $300 a month. Because the reality is some projects have even launched during COVID and have been proven to be very successful. I mean, there's a project in BKK1 that launched maybe 11 months ago, and I think it's 85% sold. So it proves that there is a market and there's demand locally and internationally. But developers really need to understand their target market. And it would seem like before COVID, it was a race to launch a new project because it was relatively easy to sell, right? So I don't think it's about a bubble. I think there's been the market correction in terms of price. I think it would certainly be a buyer's market today if you're coming in with cash. But there's definitely demand for renters. And I think as liquidity improves in the market, there'll be more local buyers as well.
Excellent. So we've also seen an increase in high-end hotels entering the market. Why do you think this is? We just had the new Flatiron just opened up, and the new Chipmong building, which has the Meridian, or the Marriott. So there's a lot of high-end all of a sudden entering Cambodia. Why?
Well, I mean, I can start. I think you can both add a lot more value to this question than I. But I think we sort of had undersupply of high-end branded hotels for a long time in Cambodia. Well, I think certainly in Siem Reap still, and Phnom Penh to a point as well. Edward understands the Sihanoukville market a lot better than probably both of us, but I would say it's certainly also lacking in Sihanoukville as well.
Yes, I think with the flights coming back, with more tourists coming back, the demand for high or better quality hotels will be there. That's number one. Number two, also because of the land price. When you're building, like we develop a few hotels. We have Prince Times Hotel in Sihanoukville. We are building a few high-end 5-star villa resorts right now in Sihanoukville as well. Because of a land price, you need to achieve a certain ADR. And to achieve the ADR, usually at this point, only big brands that can attract certain people to come here and use it and stay and willing to pay that kind of price, right? So that the project is feasible. That's the second point. Third is with the tourism service and ecosystem improving day by day in Cambodia, you're going to get more free and easy tourists who has a higher expectation of the kind of lodging they book online, right? So this will also drive the demand for high-end hotels. And also because a lot of high-end hotel operators like IHG, which we have always been talking to bring in a few more new brands into Phnom Penh and as well as into Sihanouk Noville, they are looking at the market. It's just before COVID or during COVID, 2 years, basically everything froze. Before COVID, market is so popular, so easy to do that you don't need a brand. As long as you build something, it sells. But now I think it's the right time. The right time for hotel international brands to come in. Right time for real estate developers to recognize that it's good to have a good international branded partner to really boost your image, maintain your image, and provide quality tourism properties to visitors so that they will keep coming back.
And when we talk about high-end hotels, they're not overpriced, coming here. It's more on high end of the service, the quality you're getting. In Siem Reap alone, there's over 4,000 hotels. Yes. Not just high end. We're talking about from guest houses to the Ma and Pa guest houses and everything else like that. So, and high end is bringing a different clientele for tourism. Of course, who's spending more money here? That would make a difference, yeah? Exactly.
In fact, the more there is, the more attractive the price will adjust, right? Because right now, if you look at 5-star hotels in Siem Reap or in Southern Islands, the price per room night is higher, way higher than Thailand, than surrounding countries, than Vietnam. This actually is a previous reason because there was not enough supply. Right, but it's not healthy or it's not actually good and encouraging for tourism growth because people compare the cost of going to a holiday. How much do I pay on rooms and all those? With more big brands coming in, with more supply, we will expect the room rates will adjust itself to a more attractive level, and that will create a much more healthy ecosystem and sustainable price point for visitors to keep coming back and help the tourism industry to continue to grow.
Also, recently in the last 6 to 12 months, we've had a big jump in supermarkets. I mean, once again, I'll talk about 23 years when I first come here. There was one Lucky Mall with a Lucky burger attached to it. And then, 20 years this year, Sawyer Mall opened up. So now Lucky's everywhere, and then we have a few smaller ones in Siem Reap, Uncle Mart's, and then Bayon, and there's different ones, and of course yourselves. Once again, of course, we've got the major ones knocking out the doors now with Macro here, and then Big C, now Little Big C, which is a bit of a big branch in Vietnam and also in Thailand. What was the thing that sparked off to say, okay, let's start opening up supermarkets and move away from the Ma and Pa shops where you used to be able to get almost anything you need?
I think having supermarket chains, difference from Pa and Mum shop is the consumers will have a much more wider variety of choice of things they buy, number one. Number two, the price can be more attractive. The quality of the things you buy will be more assured. Right, we do see, we have Prince Supermarket. In fact, the last 12 months, when we launched our franchise model 12 months ago, during the last, when the franchise was officially launched till now, we already have more than 20 new signups of franchise all over, not only in Phnom Penh, in Sihanouk Noville, as well as in the surrounding cities. We have seen some Pa and Mum shops wanting to convert to take the franchise because our franchise model is we don't make money from franchise fees. We charge only $88.
That's unusual for a franchise.
From franchise.
Well done.
We do the supply chain, the logistic business in that sense, right? Because Prince Supermarket is also a new kid on the block, comparative to Lucky and Aeon's, all these big players. We are also now actively working with business associations, Indochem, Jetros, and all those to start bringing more products directly from Indonesia, directly from Japan, right, into the market so that the price point can be lower. The cost of import, cost of things that you buy in supermarket can be much lower because Cambodia supermarket things are not cheap.
Yeah.
We know. Sometimes you buy a can of fruit, it costs you $8. Some, depending on where you buy it from, right?
Yeah.
So that key reason is because there's not enough choices. There's not enough import demand. Import, not demand, import. And because of the price point, the demand is very low. Yeah. Right. So what we are looking at is we have seen many products, many businesses, manufacturers are talking to us to wanting to import their product into Cambodia. And we will definitely continue to push that forward. And we are going to also open up the source. We import and any supermarket chains that would like to get it, let's bring it to the market together. Let's have the volume, right? So more producers will look at Cambodia.
Actually, to add on that, I see also the change of the Cambodian preference, the local Cambodian preference. Usually they go to buy products from the individual shops or from the market. Actually, some are more expensive than the supermarket. And of course, some is cheaper. But in the supermarket, it's much easier, more convenient. And also, with the aircon, it's easy. You can buy much easier than the market. During the holiday like this, if you go to the market like Olympic or Odyssey, you will see a lot of more expensive goods than the supermarket because negotiation price. Yeah. So the price asked for always high. Yeah. So I meet with a few friends who their wife always shopping, so they chit chat and they say supermarket is much more convenient. Yeah.
I think one point also as the country develops in terms of supermarket, in terms of consumable products, supermarket and big retail, big malls actually provide you more assurance on food safety. Yeah. Right. We have seen countries in neighboring countries, they have experienced food safety issues before. Right. But because as a supermarket chain or as a big chain like Aeon, when we bring things in, we have to make sure the source, the origin, the food has been tested to make sure it's safe for consumptions. So that's the level of assurance I think the consumers will get to experience. But of course, this is an evolution. Cambodian market is also still evolving and growing, but I think it's in the right direction. Yeah. And sooner or later in the next few years, we will see more supermarket chains, more product choices, and hopefully even more locally manufactured products will go on the shelf in Cambodian supermarkets.
I think just recently the Minister of Agriculture, Tina, and the Prime Minister are trying to push, the cashews and local wheat, which is better to go into, like you say, into supermarkets where the hygiene is a lot better because the standards before in Cambodia, well, you went to a local food store, to the market, you had to go early to get produce because you didn't know how long it was going to be in the sun. Yeah. It's kind of changing the education of the local people because this is the Western lifestyle. This is what it's got to be like, I think, with the supermarkets like that. So it'll give opportunity for local products to get into supermarkets as well and get the proper value of what it's worth. Not undercutting. So that way it'll increase productivity and also, of course, wages for local people earning the money they're earning because now they have to compete against everyone else. So in a good direction, I think you're right. It's going that way. Rental prices. I know as just a consumer trying to find a rental place and things, I find it overpriced here in Phnom Penh compared to Siem Reap. I got a place there in Siem Reap, a 5-bedroom house at $500 a month. Here, I've got a 3-bedroom, and I've still got a good rate here. Actually, I'm very lucky for $400. But I mean, just today, a 2-bedroom house, $1,200.
Well, yeah. I mean, this goes to the back to the supply thing, right? It's actually for a like-for-like comparison on a condominium apartment between here and Bangkok. Here's actually more expensive. Yeah. So, across the board, if you take into consideration every property type, landed property, apartment, renovated apartment. The price has come down a little bit during COVID, but it's coming back up. On realestate.com.kh, our inquiries are definitely back up to an average of $1,000 and above. And as more supply comes onto the market, we hope it remains at $1,000. It could go higher if more and more people move into the country. I hope I'm making sense, but surprisingly, compared to Phnom Penh and Bangkok, it's more expensive in Phnom Penh for a service department.
Yeah. I mean, just talking to even local people, they don't live close to work because it's so expensive, and the average wage is $200 to $300 a month. It's kind of outpricing, where then they kind of have 3 or 4 people living in one a condo apartment.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where it's also a big opportunity in the market is more affordable housing. We've seen a very successful project next to the hospital on the way to the airport, Japanese project.
Oh, yeah.
So it's another big opportunity for developers in Cambodia.
I also think that many people have forgot that the Cambodia real estate market, really big international apartments start building maybe about 7-8 years ago. Completed ones are not that many, although we see many. But if you talk about as a tier 1 city per se, as a country, as a city per se, the number of apartments available for lease in Phnom Penh is way lower than Ho Chi Minh or Bangkok. So in that sense, for rental properties, the supply is actually limited compared to the speed of foreigners coming in here to work, to move here and so forth. So that's the reason why we do see that the rental pricing here is good. Good in a sense for investors, very good yield. That's why a lot of people come here to buy apartments. You get, in fact, compared to Malaysia, surrounding countries in ASEAN, other than Singapore, Phnom Penh maybe give you one of the best rental yield, right? But of course, on the flip side, on the hindsight, for tenants, you have to pay a bit more, right? But looking at the income level, the salary level for expats in Phnom Penh is actually also a little bit better than Malaysia or even Vietnam. So it's in relationship. So if you ask me, is it healthy? Is it a healthy trend? I would say that yes, expats have to pay a little bit more for rental, but the trend, the ratio is not alarming. It's how a city will evolve by itself. It will adjust by itself in terms of rental price and so forth. But as a whole, I think it does keeps Cambodia as an attractive investment market. We do see that in the next 2-3 years, with more projects finishing. In fact, this year, next year, there's few projects that will be finishing. The rental price may taper off a little bit, but I don't foresee it will be tapering off a lot because of the price for the property itself. You still have to maintain a certain yield, right? But that, I think, is still an evolving trend that we'll see.
Yeah, and an increase of multinationals entering the market, so more renters because more foreign expats.
Yeah.
I think also we forget in the Western countries, I'm not sure about Malaysia, Singapore or Vietnam, everything's included, furniture's included. See, back at home, we're not used to that. So that's why you've got to pay a little bit higher. You've got to pay for your washing machine, your oven, your furniture. And that's one thing I found that it's great here in Cambodia is if you move, you don't need to buy and drag a lot of stuff halfway around the city for you. So that's got to, of course, compensate for rental prices as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what is the future for Cambodia real estate? Will the bubble burst? Will it grow? We spoke about Arikasat. Looks like coming part of the new future with new investments. We're in Rasokio in this area. We've seen a big boree just getting built down the road. Chongtravar's getting a new bridge built up. And as you head towards further, towards the factory and all that, it seems to be just expanding and expanding.
I think maybe Edward, the experience in the region, maybe he knows the more than me about the growth of the city and the city expansion. But of course, I just look at the Cambodia alone. I receive a lot of question, and many years back, always ask, is the situation now, the supply is over? The supply is over. It's actually the free market, like Edward mentioned. The supply is often generally about 2 years, 3 years, 4 years ahead of the demand. And it's been like since 2007, 2008 until today. And it keep growing. It keep growing up, down, but the graph is moving up, you know. So I think, you know, in the sense that because of the COVID time, especially the traveling restriction, so there's no tourists, no investor coming to Cambodia. That's why you see this year or last year, the new project like apartment building is not much, right? It's from very very big into very small. I think this thing is because of the investor idea or forecast that there will be not so much, you know, overseas buyer come to Cambodia, because most of the apartment is about like 70% for overseas market, whilst the local demand is picking up by the new generation. And I think for me, even though, you know, the supply is more than the demand, but I strongly believe in the market, real estate market, Cambodia. You look at the tourists coming in the country, opening up, the infrastructure is there, you know, ready for any business, for any opportunity. So things have been done, just waiting for the, you know, thing coming in. And we're not waiting, actually. The government and the private sector is trying their best to attract the new investor to come into Cambodia. Of course, we need money into this market, then everything will, you know, start to move. So I believe that when the tourists come to Cambodia, they will spend the money. I heard that the Prime Minister Hun Sen talked to the Chinese government. They have sort of agreed to have 300 airplanes to come to Cambodia during a week. So 300 a week, that's a lot opportunity. Of course, this is the plan, but hopefully, you know, turn into real situation. And especially Sihanoukville, there's the new budget deal policy apply into the Sihanoukville city for the hangover building, and also the direct flight from China to Sihanoukville. And I think that Sihanoukville is going to be a very modern, big city in probably in 5 years' time. And of course, Prince Group also part of the you know, development of the city, of the growth.
I think we're all forecasting that Sihanoukville will probably have the biggest growth over the next 10 years. I think I've picked it up from all of us today, especially with the infrastructure there, the connectivity to Phnom Penh. Not saying the whole country won't display growth, but I think Sihanoukville will be the biggest growth city in the country.
I think as long as Cambodia maintains a positive GDP growth of 5% or up, you know, and the inflation rates, you know, don't cross beyond half of what the GDP growth is, a bubble is still quite unlikely to form, especially being a developing market and being a market in the Southeast Asia region right now that has one of the most conducive investment environment that many investors are looking at moving in. We will still be on a growth path. Yes, there will be challenges. There will be adjustments that we will see in the next few years, but that's normal. So as long as the government policies continue its traction and its direction, I do see that the Cambodia real estate market is now coming back. In fact, it's coming back a little bit stronger than some of its neighbors to the south and to the east, right? And this with the economy start picking back, with more start coming in, with more foreign funds and people start coming spending money here, this growth will be able to still sustain itself for at least another 5, if not 10 years before we see another market correction.
We've seen with the Prime Minister, I mean, obviously coming out of COVID and for the DGB to jump up, I think it's about 6.9% at the moment, has done a fantastic job to be able to get out of that so quickly, because I mean it stopped the whole world. It wasn't just Cambodia; the whole world completely stopped. It brings back memories of of movies of the worlds that completely stopped and things happen. But for him, the Prime Minister, to bring it back up in such a short time, it proves that obviously he's a great leader, and what he's done for Cambodia over so many years. Now to put you all on the spot, 30 seconds. Why invest in Cambodia?
Well, I think because, I mean, for me, I've did investments in the surrounding countries. This place has one of the most friendly, easiest investment laws and policies in place. Number 2 is, at least right now, it's the US dollarized economy. Number 3, you can walk around anywhere speaking English or Chinese and you can get around compared to some of its neighbors. So that's my 30 seconds.
Tom?
Oh, Edward stole mine, right?
Yeah.
I mean, US dollar-based infrastructure development, growth potential, return on investment, rental yields. That's mine. Done in under the 30 seconds.
I believe, I was born in this country and come across many situations. So political stability bring us into current situation now in, even though we still got time to move forward for growth. But of course, with this situation, we are, everywhere we can access and many places have been developed. We are like very, happy to live in this country. And of course, as Cambodian, we are trying to attract more investor into Cambodia in terms of the, attractive point like Edward and Tom mentioned.
So we're going to finish up with the last question. I mean, and it's a really important topic, and it's a question that gets asked all the time. The laws about owning property, houses, apartments, condos, either to either live here or to invest, because, I mean, there is certain laws here that we have to follow by.
So regarding of the property ownership in Cambodia, we have two type of real estate law. Previously, all of the land belonged to the government. Then we adjust into privatization, give the ownership to private Cambodian owner, but not foreigner. Later, we also, in order to attract more property investor into Cambodia, also allow the foreigner to own space above ground floor within the co-ownership building, like condominium, office space, or retail. And now, recently, we also have another option for investor to own land by, through the trustee. So the trust company will do this, the document in order to protect the investor ownership, the investor money. So all of this thing is to attract more investor into Cambodia. Like Edward mentioned, Cambodian real estate market is not only the local market, but of course we open for anywhere coming from overseas.
Any final words before we finish up? No, all good.
I mean, for me, I think like locally, I just encourage developers to consider the end user and whatever they're building, to also in terms of the rentability, encourage them to think about their buyers, and if it's focused on the local middle class, that I hope that the quality of construction matches price. And similar for international investors. I think we all agree that us, along with local expatriates and Cambodians, have really banded together to get through COVID over the last year and a bit. We've certainly seen the recovery, so I think that's great to see. And for anyone overseas, I just really encourage them to come here. Because as we've said today, once someone lands in Cambodia, they really opens their eyes and quite surprised at how developed the country actually is and how progressed the country is.
So basically just come, give it a chance, have a look, book out one of the high-end hotels and spend a bit of time.
I mean, regardless of what type of tourist you are, whether you're a businessman looking for opportunities, whether you're a backpacker, whether you're a family, whether you're looking for a mid-range hotel or a high-end hotel, I mean, there's something for everyone in Cambodia, and it caters to all tourists. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have Phnom Penh, Sitnaville, and just outside Sitnaville we have some lovely islands coming off too, which is up and coming now with investments, Siem Reap, Battambang, and it seems to be growing everywhere now. And it's a great opportunity. You can say it's almost a buyer's market because it's so new. It's like a baby for Cambodia. So everything's still price. You go to Thailand now, it's getting too expensive to do anything, to invest. Vietnam is getting to the same way. And back at home, back in Australia, it's just going too unaffordable for a lot of things. So there you have it. 3 gurus of the real estate industry here in Cambodia, giving us a bit of insight on what's happening now, what's hot and what's not, and what will be happening in the future. You've been watching EAC Insight, where we discuss different aspects of real estate here in Cambodia. You can tune on to our website, www.eacnews.asia, or you can download our app in the App Store, Smart TV, on all social media channels. Thanks for watching EAC Insight. I'm your host, Anthony Ellis. I'll see you next time.